When you discovered the law of attraction, you started to believe anything was possible. Life got better, much better. Now you want more, but it's not working. That's where the Manifest It Now show comes in. If you've been waiting for someone who can teach you the practical application to manifest quicker and easier while having more, turn the volume up, because the dynamic duo, Cassie Parks and Ginny Gane, are ready to teach you how to live the law of attraction like they do. It's time to laugh and learn.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Manifest It Now. I'm here with Cassie Parks.
And I'm here with Ginny Gane.
And we have our follow-up episode to last week's episode of Unconscious Communication. So we're going to dive a little bit deeper into this, talk about a few different things of how to just most effectively connect and talk with, well, everybody, but I was going to say your partner, but everybody in your life.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. That opens up so much when we definitely apply this to everyone. Mm-hmm. I love these topics because I think they're huge, and I don't totally think, well, we're going to check in with like a common advice for relationships and see where Jenny and I stand on it. But I think we're talking about things that don't get talked about in different ways of being in a relationship, you know, as opposed to some of the other things like, oh, you always have to compromise, you always have to do this, all these things.
I'm like rolling my eyes right now.
I know, right? I was like, oh, no.
It's my favorite thing to remind people is you get to have it all.
Oh my gosh. It's my favorite when we go through something like this on a call with a client, and then the next day, like, you never guess what my husband did.
Yes.
Yeah.
I had one client who, she says, okay, so I know this is like a big ask, but I really want my husband to be more cuddly. And I'm like, no problem. We'll do it. And we, did the work, and she's like, You'll never believe, he wants to cuddle with me. He calls me, he's hugging me. And I'm like, yep, that's how it works.
So fun.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And communication is just, it's so integral. I didn't say that right. Integral to, I can't say the word, to your manifesting, because it really creates a sense of allowing and ease when you know how to do this most effectively.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Oh, it totally does.
It creates space, for you to have those deep connections that you're after.
That is so good. It creates the space for those deep connections. Mm-hmm. Because if you're constantly focused on more of that surface and like sort of trying to fix a problem, for the easiest way to say it, you can't go into those deeper spaces. You don't mm-hmm. have the space for that. But when you learn mm-hmm. to communicate, there's a lot of space for that, because so many of your words aren't getting taken up with other things.
Yep. And as we talked about last week, like, you're actually understanding what they're meaning, or going for that, what they mean, versus just the words.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a powerful reminder.
What are you excited about, Cass?
So many things. I think today I'll pick my new mountain property.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I know.
So exciting.
It is so exciting. And now that I shared a different example that we're going to talk about later, but even that, when I'm thinking about it, it ties into something, so I'll bring it up later. But it just happened so easily, and it was like, okay, we're doing this, and here we go. And it was my love's birthday gift, and that mm-hmm. is amazing and so fun. And
the alignment was there on both sides. It
yes.
wasn't, which is what we're going to get into.
Yeah, it wasn't one of us. It was like, okay, this is it. And I knew we would have to move fast. And so we are making an offer, like driving down the road. And we took the back way to where we were going. And so we would lose service every so often. So it was super fun to just,
trust
and
that.
then we trust that. And, then check into the hotel and, be signing things and like, okay, this is what we're going to do. And it was super cute. Like, we really had to practice patience, because we had heard, we were supposed to hear at like noon, because there were multiple offers on this property. And we were like, oh, let's just go have a good time. Like, we didn't worry about it. And finally, like, I think at 5:00, I was like, hey, have you heard anything? And my realtor's like, oh yeah. the person needs their daughter to help them sign the documents, but we're just going to proceed as if everything was signed on time and they're accepting our offer. Like,
that's so awesome.
Yeah. So it was really fun. And I'm super excited for all the possibilities there.
Yeah. So many.
It's going to be amazing. How about you? What are you excited about?
I feel most excited about, so in the past few weeks in our tribe, it just feels like there's been big manifestations like every week, like something big every week with the women, like jobs, careers, relationships, ahas, shifts, and that's freaking exciting. Like everyone can feel it in there, but it is, Cass and I have talked about, such a huge part of our joy comes from seeing our clients be successful. And so I do have big intentions for the tribe this year. I don't know if I've mentioned that. I know they know it, of big dreams coming true. And it's really cool to see that happening, already, but to know that my intentions are connected to what is unfolding, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, it's so fun.
That's good.
I love it. Yeah.
Okay, so let's start with, do you want to start with that story you shared about, so the first thing we're going to talk about in this area, in this topic, is asking for what you need versus what you think the other person should do to give you what you need.
So we should say this again. Asking for what you need or what you want. Not telling the other person what they should do to give that to you. Yeah. Nobody likes to be told what to do. Let's just be clear.
Yeah, nobody.
Nobody. And so, when we are, oh man, and I had a great story, but well, you also had a good story about this. Maybe you want to talk about it, about your carpet and my cleaning space.
Oh, yes. So we got, I love tidy spaces. I love clean spaces. And so instead of me saying to, I hope I'm not throwing Lisa under the bus, but like, go pick up your stuff. I need you to put your stuff here or put your stuff away or whatever. That communicating in that way is unproductive for our relationship because I'm telling her what to do, which has nothing to do with what I need. The clearest, easiest way to do this is to say, I really want and value tidy spaces. And so does she. It's not, this isn't like I'm not alone in this. So we have our little outdoor space outside with our tiki hut and our hot tub and everything. And I picked up a carpet to just like outdoor carpet to go there. And we had it all open because we have 2 dogs that run around our backyard and 1 dog that loves to dig and 1 dog that loves to lay on our furniture. And so what we were finding that is like, it got really dirty out there. And I'm like, oh, I love clean spaces. And then I didn't really, this kind of ties into the other one, but I didn't really push it. We just kind of acknowledge that and we communicate that with I think the biggest thing is with no expectation or like need of the other person to do something. This is something we actually had to work out over time of just being together, is sometimes when I would communicate, it would be assumed that she's like, she thinks she needs to do something. And I'm like, no, that's not, I'm not saying you need to fix this for me. I'm just communicating what I need. So even that needed to almost have a second conversation about that. But we've worked that out now. Now we're in alignment on what's actually being said with that. And so we kind of just gave that space, and then she came up with the idea. She's like, oh, hey, well, why don't we put some rocks down over here? That will stop the digging. I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. And then we can, power wash this. And then she's like, oh, we should just get a little gate and we should have this space so we can just keep it ourselves. And then last weekend we did that. And it was so fun putting that together, creating that space and that experience together as a co-creation versus me like demanding or saying this is what we should do or you should do or this is how we have to act, is just saying and asking for what I want and need versus. And then the other cool thing, I know I'm kind of rambling on here, is that you give your partner or your parents or your child the opportunity to choose for themselves. Like, oh, do they want to support me in that, or support the family in that, or is it something they want to be a part of? Because if it isn't, that's okay too. You know, like coming back to, I know I get what I want. I always get what I want. And so I don't need to make the other person responsible for me getting what I want. I just need to ask for it in order for me to start experiencing that.
I have a couple more examples of this, but one that just popped into my mind, must be somebody needs it, is this is great when it comes to money as well. So a lot of people have different ways that money makes them feel and different amounts of money that make them feel. And so one of the places where this can be sticky with people is the amount that's in savings, or that's amount for your
That is so funny. We literally just had this conversation last week. That's hilarious.
That's awesome. And so instead of, like, well, we should be saving X amount, or we shouldn't do this until this point, or I don't want to until this, or I don't want to spend this money, you communicate what you need. I need $10,000 in savings. That makes me feel good. Like, how can we come up with a plan to get there? Like, how does that feel to you? Or even just saying it and leaving it be. Like, this is what makes me feel safe, and this is what I want, is $10,000 extra dollars. And not saying the things like, we need to cut back this, or we need to not spend money until this, right? Because all of those are telling someone else how to behave.
Yeah. And it might not even, there might be a gap in that communication. They might not understand, because all they want is $2,000 in there, and they'll feel like you feel at $10,000. And so it's so important to communicate that, like, well, what does that mean for you?
Yeah. And what does it mean, and what are the specifics that you need versus I need more in savings?
Yes.
Right? I don't want to spend that because we don't have enough here, or we don't have this, or we haven't done this, right? Because then you can come up with the plan together to meet everybody's needs and make everyone feel good in the process. If you're not telling someone else what to do, like, you get to co-create it, which is why you're all here listening, right? Co-creation.
And I really love the other example that we were going to talk about with this. So not telling them what to do, but telling them what you need.
Yeah. So let's say that you need some time in the house alone.
Which we've talked about a few times.
Well, and actually, this comes up a lot. Let me use this example. This comes up a lot, I think, in like step-parent relationships. So, if you say something that someone's kids need to do, even the most evolved, if you start in on what their kid needs to do, is gonna immediately have their mama bear, papa bear defenses go up.
Yeah.
So if it is, I need them to clean up their room, right? They need to clean up their room every day, or it needs to be cleaned by this time every day, or this day every day. This, like this list of basically demands, right? Automatically, what a parent hears, even the most evolved, I would say, is like, my kid isn't doing it right. And it's somehow like attacking something about my kid. And immediately they're defending their kid, right? And it may be both of your children, but there's this automatic defense, right? It could happen even in a non-step parent relationship, right? I've actually seen that too, with both natural parents. And so
also, this happens with your pets. Just so you know.
Oh, I love that. So true. And so instead of saying this is what should be happening, you start with what you need. Yeah. I need the room to be clean at least once a week, so that I am not freaking out that I'm going to have to clean it for 3 days, 6 months from now.
Yeah.
And you really put it on you and express your fears and concerns. It makes me stressed out because I feel like I'm going to eventually have to go in and do it, because it's going to get so bad. Everyone's going to be so overwhelmed. It's not going to get done, or whatever your reasons are. But I need Saturdays to be clean house day.
Yeah.
Or and you don't even have to identify. I need one day of the week for things to be picked up. because that makes me feel like it's manageable.
Yeah.
You know, like we're not getting behind. Anything
Or we're
past
sharing this experience.
Right, we're sharing it. And so when you say that about a child, great. Like you can even, it's a super even easy way for your partner to include the child as well. Like, okay, like you need to have your room clean 1 day a week. Which day will it be? You know, which is again even the trickle down of you need to do this by this time, and this is the rule no matter what, right? Everybody gets to work in what feels good and be part of the solution when you ask for what you need instead of say how it should be done.
It's just so powerful, like in all your communication, to make it about you. Don't make it about the other person. And that this goes like it happens a lot in thinking in heads. When we start spinning, we're thinking about this other person, trying to control them. Just control you. Just communicate what's important to you, what you need, what you want. When you're speaking, Cass, I was thinking not only with kids, telling kids what to do, or like if a parent is protective of their kids, anytime you tell another person what to do, whether that's your partner, your mom, or anybody, the walls go up, because that's your ego jumping in saying, don't, like, no, like I got to protect myself. Right. And so that it's not the best way to communicate by telling someone what to do. It's always, always best by expressing what's important to you and what you need or want.
Yes. Which is, it's so helpful. And I want to talk about like that, Jenny mentioned like being in our head and we think about all these things. What happens in our head is generally we're telling ourselves how we're not going to get what we want. And so then you go into like over explaining, which is often like, I need you to do this and you should do it when you get home and you should do it this way. And it's because of this, and don't wait until this time because you'll forget, because you're
trying to control all the details
to make sure you get what you want.
Yes.
Or what you need. But the easiest way to get what you want or you need is to ask for exactly what you want or you need, and let the other person or both of you together figure out how to meet that need.
Yeah. And I was just thinking about the other side of this too. Like imagine your child, your mom, your dad, your partner came to you and said, I need to have space. And you're like, oh my gosh, okay, how can I support you? Like you love this person, you want to help. It's the complete opposite response than being told what to do.
Yes. And there's just so much more freedom. And that space is, that's good for creation too, right? That's good for creative solutions to come out, because you're giving it space and you're not attaching to the how you think it should be done.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about this. This is a good time to kind of shift into this second point we wanted to cover about giving issues or problems or tensions in a conversation space, right? So not having to figure it out this moment, not having to talk it out this moment. I think one of the most powerful things that happens in Lisa's and I's communication is we've really learned that of when we're just going to spin or we're going to stay stuck, like we're not going anywhere in a conversation, and we just stop. It takes discipline, because there's a part of you that wants to, go just keep talking about it, right? There's that part of you. It was a couple of weeks ago and we were having a conversation in the car, and in the car you can't get anywhere, and we were like coming to a head, and we just like sat and stopped. We just like, okay, let's just not talk about it. Like, we're not going anywhere. We just sat in silence, and it was extremely uncomfortable, right? But we both knew like it's not going to come out of this. And then so in just a little bit of space, then I was able to say, okay, what I really want, like, I want you to feel support. I forget the details, but I want you to feel supported, and I want to feel this or something. And so just acknowledging what I wanted, and then she was allowed to have the space to acknowledge what she wanted and needed. And then that's all it took was like 5 minutes of just not talking to be able to access something else that was productive and eventually led to a beautiful like unfolding. But I just want to comment and like highlight how that space isn't always comfortable, but so valuable. Like if you have to leave the house, fine. And it's just okay to just stop mid-conversation if you're not going anywhere.
Yes. And so you do have to, like, in the spirit of communication, you have to communicate that, right? You don't just get to walk off.
Right.
I mean, I know you don't do that, but I think that's an important, like, in our heads, we're like, I need a break. And that is our intuition leading us, but we still have to communicate it to the other person. Like, I need to go outside for 5 minutes because I need to be somewhere else.
Yes.
And we need a space on this, right? But it was,
or I can't keep talking about this. Like,
yes.
I don't want to talk about this right now.
Yeah.
That's actually what Lisa said. And I was like, but.
Which can even feel a little, you have to find your words around that too, because to some people that it feels like, wait a minute. And it feels like they're taking control of the conversation, right? Mm-hmm. I don't want to talk, well, it's too bad. Like, I want to keep, you know, because when we're in it, that's what we want to do. We want to keep, because we get ingrained in the energy that's growing of almost like the fight or the argument, the thing we don't want to be in, but that it starts to take, and we get sucked into that energy, and we need that step away to remember, oh, like, this is what I really want. I don't care about, like, last Tuesday, I want this.
Yeah. Also,
I want you to feel good.
Yes. I was going to say, that's a big part of it, is sometimes what keeps people from having what gets people having a conversation too soon is that they're thinking about their partner not feeling good, and they can't handle that.
Yes.
So knowing your partner's hurting or is not feeling good is often will draw us in too soon. And we have to let that be. That's the space. Or even kids, knowing your kid is upset, right? You have to let that be until you're in the place to then have a productive conversation.
Yeah, and so this is what we talk about. I think what you're saying is feel through the emotions, right? Before you go in and try and talk. For so many reasons. I mean, number one, like, once someone's actually felt the emotions, whatever the emotion is, like, they're clear, you know, then you can choose.
Yeah.
But you can't choose in the middle of the emotion. And especially, like, if someone is trying to fix it, but it doesn't feel good, and, you know, then that emotion can quickly turn to a different emotion because it has that energy of an emotion. And so I think what you're saying is, you know, if your partner is hurting or not good, it is okay to give space and not try to fix the problem in that moment.
In that moment, yeah.
Yeah.
You're not abandoning them. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, so we had wanted to touch on this a little bit because I was thinking about it the other day, like working through some communication stuff in my relationship. Like, you know, that saying, it's like, I feel like it's cliche marriage advice, but everybody gives it, like, oh, never go to bed angry.
Cassie was like, what do you think about that?
Yeah. I was like, I kind of think it's terrible advice now.
Yeah.
Like, not that you want to make a habit of going to bed angry, but it implies that you're going to force yourself to feel good.
Yes.
You know, or you're going to force yourself to stay in something when it might just need space.
Yeah.
You know?
As I'm thinking about this, I remember, taking this advice when I was younger and trying to, you know, what this brings to mind is one of my partners had like something over the bed that said, always kiss me goodnight or something. That means the same thing to me as like, yeah. And so
I can feel your energy.
Yeah. And so I like remember trying to force that and be like, oh, well, we can't, it's a rule. We can't go to bed angry. And so we have to figure this out. And very, in law of attraction terms, that's not how you get to the best solution. Right? So, I mean, where I am now, I would say, just like in my own experience and relationship, I don't think we would go to bed angry, but we would go to bed in love, but maybe not with a solution. like to what we have, but it would be, we would have some sort of mutual understanding that is like, okay, this isn't resolved, but that's okay. It's not affecting our love. So like we can go to bed in love and still have something that's not resolved. Yeah.
I agree, because I think it's forcing it. And the weird thing is if you're forcing like those two things, which are the same thing, right? Is you're forcing that solution when sometimes it's just a little bit of space. Sometimes it might be
like often.
Yeah. It doesn't take the whole night.
Yeah.
But like being willing to give any space if that is the time when it comes, and on top of being emotional, people are tired.
Right.
Like forcing something isn't going to be helpful. But having the option to know, like, and I think that's an agreement and a commitment that sometimes you need to come to before you get to that place where it's like, okay, like, we're not going to force anything. We're going to be okay. And we're going to know that we're going to come back tomorrow. And we're still going to love each other. And we're going to do this even if, like, we don't go to bed perfect. Or even if, like, you know, maybe I just don't want to kiss you tonight, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's powerful too, for maybe you haven't had this conversation yet and it takes like an argument or a disagreement or something to bring it up, and that in the middle of that maybe isn't the time to have that conversation. But like after the fact, to then be like, hey, can we move through this in a different way next time? Or like let the contrast give you clarity about what you want moving forward, because you're going to have other disagreements for the rest of your life, you know? And so I think it's that this is the conscious part of conscious communication, is having an experience, letting it be okay, whatever it was, and then making decisions about how you want to move through it or how you want to feel when it happens next or in the future.
Yes. That is the conscious part, right? Is because you can choose different next time. You can set it up to be better next time. And that is priceless. And it's an evolution, and it's always going to be happening, you know? Always going to be getting better at that, ideally.
Yeah. Do you want to go into our last point?
Yeah, I think we have time. So
okay.
The other thing about communication is trusting you get what you want. And you're all amazing manifestors if you're listening to this. And so, you know, trusting you get what you want means you don't have to force it in the how. You don't have to explain it. You don't have to convince everyone. So one of the principles that I live by, and we live by in our house, and we just had a beautiful example of it this weekend, figuring something out for the dining room and in a storage situation, is if it's not a yes for both of us, it's not the right time.
That's such amazing. Like, people should write that on the marriage advice cards.
Right? That's the advice.
Yeah. And that's okay. Like, if you're not, it's okay that it's not the right time, because if you're worried you don't get what you want and you're acting out of fear, then you're going to stress out about that and try to make it happen. But when you trust you get what you want and your partner doesn't want the same thing you do at that time, you just let go. You're like, okay, I know I get what I want. Yeah.
And I think it goes to that higher level too. It's like, I get what I want, or we get what we want, which is better than what I can see on my own. Right? And so a great example, I just love this, because when we were doing some redecorating and changing out some lights, and she was like, well, what if you don't like this light? Or, you know, I don't know if I picked a light or she picked a light and one of us didn't like it.
Don't you mean a chandelier?
Yeah, chandelier, light, all of them. Yeah, a chandelier. And, you know, it's like, well, I don't like that. And like, okay, I do. And she's like, but what about, like, you're not getting what you want? And I'm like, no, if it's not what we both want, it's not right. It's not the right time. Something will come that we can both look at and be like, that's it, I love it, which totally happened. And was a great deal, by the way.
Yeah.
Also involved manifesting money. But, like, it's so easy when you can come to that space, and you're just like, okay, like, it doesn't feel 100% for you. Like, you don't have to compromise. You can just trust and wait and know that there is something that works for both of you if you're willing to let go of what you think you need in order to get something that works for both of you.
Yes. I think this point in itself can transform like communication. But I want to say a couple of things. So the first thing is to let it be okay that your partner or whoever wants something different than you do. Okay, so when somebody has a different opinion, a different preference, having your initial response be, okay, cool. Well, it's not the right time yet. Like, that is the key part of this versus saying, oh no, right? Versus having that reaction. That's not going to get you what you want. Saying, okay, great. Let's see what happens. And then just this belief out there that we can't both win, or like that the idea that somebody has to sacrifice, somebody has to compromise. Get that out of your head. Start creating a reality where it is win-win, where you both get what you want, and you will create those experiences. And it won't feel like sacrifice or compromise.
Yeah, at all.
Mm-hmm.
It's so great, and it's so fun.
Yeah.
We were high-fiving in IKEA because something became clear, and because I just let it. Like, it did end up being my idea. It was an idea I presented like 3 months ago and was not a hit. And then we walked in and I was like, oh, this is exactly what I was talking about when I was talking about this. And she was like, oh, yeah, let's do that.
Mm-hmm. And so with that, because Cass didn't force the details, the universe could show the details in a way that was best for both people. And then that's the right timing. That's the hell yes.
Yes. So fun.
Awesome. Anything else you want to wrap up with, Cass?
No, I think that was amazing.
Amazing. Well, we can't wait to hear you guys' conscious communication feedback and stories. If you haven't already, jump into our podcast Facebook group, Manifest It Now podcast community on Facebook. We share lots of wins and exciting things in there. And we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
I love helping people manifest money. Because when you're learning to use the law of attraction, money is such a great tool. It gives such instant feedback. There's so many opportunities to see how the energy is flowing through you and where you might be getting tripped up or not allowing it to come in. So if you've had trouble manifesting in the past, you might want to use money as a way to learn how to use the law of attraction. Now, I have helped thousands of people manifest millions of dollars using my system Manifest 10K. And now I would love to invite you to join me complimentary and pay based on your success. You heard me right. You can join, get access to my very successful program, the Enchanted Circle, and most of all, my coaching for when you get stuck. And then you can pay me 10% of what you manifest after you're successful. If this sounds good to you, go to payafteryoumanifest.com to apply. That's payafteryoumanifest.com.
Go be awesome!
Thank you for joining us on the Manifest It Now show, where you learn how to leverage the law of attraction to manifest your dreams. Now that you're inspired, share the love and review us on iTunes. While you're there, remember to subscribe.